Let's quickly have a look at that from the API, all the methods which we have seen yesterday. Okay, and just confirm and make some corrections if there are anything, right? If there's any correction required. Okay, fine. So let's start with the output stream. Fine. So for output stream, what are the methods? Fine, we just look at the method list. Yeah. So there was one static method called the null output stream, which would return the output stream. And from instance methods, okay, it is flushable, closable, so it has a flush and the close method. Fine. We even have the method called write. Okay, write method here returns void. Yeah, three forms of write: writing a single byte, that's the abstract method, and the other two write methods. Okay, fine. So this is output stream class. Okay, fine. And then we saw about the writer class. Okay, let's go back and look at the writer. Okay, so writer class, yes, we can see it is implementing appendable also. Fine, writer class is closable, flushable, appendable. Okay, let's look at the methods here. Okay, so yes, we do have static method here also for the null writer. Okay, and instance methods, yes, because it is appendable, we have these additional methods for append, right? That's appending a single character, a character sequence, or a segment of a character sequence, where we give the start and the end index. Right? In the write method, it is offset and length. Okay, and a slight difference between it. And here, append return type is the writer. The object on which we call the append method, that is what is to be returned. Okay, flush, close, yes, they are there. Flushable, closable. For write, the three forms of write, we can see the write where we have the character array, offset and length. That's the one which is abstract here. Okay, and there is a writing a single character on an array. Okay, of course, what we do with array is exactly same thing. Can instead of array, you might use a string in the write method. Okay, so that's a writer class. Okay, and let's go back and check with the input stream. Okay, fine. We have the input stream. Fine, implements closable, right? Okay, let's look at the methods here. Our static method here is the null input stream to return input stream, and we have the instance methods. Okay, fine. Yeah, we had seen this. Available returns the number of bytes which can be read without being blocked. Okay, and closable, so it has a close method. We have the mark and reset method. There's the reset method also. Yeah, mark and reset. Okay, and the mark supported to return a Boolean value. And the three forms of read method, the first read is abstract, reading, it returns int. Okay, the other two also return int. And what is that int value? What is returned by the read method? The number of bytes which it could read. Right? For example, if there is an end of file or anything, right, then it may not be able to fill the entire array. Okay, or that segment of the array. Fine. Same thing, we have read all bytes to return a byte array. We have read n bytes, right, which returns int. Okay, this is exactly like the read method which returns int here. Okay, this is the read method which we have, and this is that read n bytes. Okay, fine. We have the read n bytes being overloaded, where you can only specify the n, the size, and it returns a byte array. I think here we might have okay, we'll check this method what we had written yesterday. Okay. We have the skip method to takes long, returns how many bytes were actually skipped. Okay, whereas this method skip n bytes, okay, is also about skipping the bytes and you are specifying that size, but here the return type is void. Okay, that's the difference, right? Another thing I think what we made mistake was in the transfer to method, we had written return type as void, whereas it is long, the number of bytes it actually transferred into the output stream. Okay, and I think we can just make those corrections in the reader input stream class, and then we'll have okay, let's also have a look at the reader. Okay, methods in the reader. Okay, here's the reader class. Fine. Methods implemented, yes, there's a readable interface. Okay, fine. Readable interface has, okay, you can see this readable interface, the method here, there's only one method here, that's a read method which reads into a char buffer, and this char buffer is from the java.nio package. Okay, so you can use this to read into a buffer also. Okay, otherwise normally those buffers for reading purpose we read using the what we call as the channels. In java.nio package there's something called channel. Okay, and let's look at the all the methods here. Okay, so this is readable. You have to go to the reader. Yeah, fine. In the reader we have the methods here, static method to return the null reader, and instance methods. Yeah, close for closable, mark and reset will be there for the, and we have that mark reset pair with the mark supported method, read method. Okay, this method, which is this read method here, is the abstract method. Okay, if we don't have a method like available when we compare it with the input stream, but instead we have a method called ready to return boolean, not the number of characters which are available, but whether there is something or not. Fine, it is ready with some characters. With the skip method, there's a transfer to. Okay, transfer to return long. Fine, clear? Okay, and of course, okay, and then we had yesterday, we had also seen the other two classes. Okay, fine, so we can have a look at those two classes here. We have the, okay, let's look at the writer. Fine. Writer class, one of the subclass here is the OutputStreamWriter. Okay, fine. The subclass of the writer is the OutputStreamWriter. And let's look at the constructor. The constructor here says, yes, an OutputStreamWriter, if you want to create, you can create using an output stream and a Charset encoder. Okay, Charset encoder is from the java.nio.charset package. Okay, the package is java.nio.charset. Okay, fine. So this is one. Another constructor where we can pass a Charset. Okay, and now instead of a Charset, you can use a Charset name as a string. And if you don't give, it will use the default Charset. We may just quickly have a look even at the Charset class. Okay, fine. Okay, so Charset, yes, it implements comparable, that's one thing. Okay, let's look at the, fine, we won't find, okay, we have the constructor, but that's a protected constructor. Okay, and the static methods, yeah, let's look at these static methods. There are these three important static methods here. One of them is the available Charsets to return a sorted map of the string and charset. So it's a charset name and the corresponding charset object. Okay, so that mapping is maintained. There's a method called default charset to return what is the default charset of your system. Okay, and we have this method called for name, which takes a character set name and returns the corresponding charset object. Fine. I think they have overloaded the charset name. Fine. For name method where they take a charset name. Okay, so here is a fallback method which says for name. Now, if we don't find a char set for a given character set name, then you might also use a fallback character set. So this will return a char set. See, here you might get a null in this for name method, right? Because the character set name which you have given may not be a supported one. Okay, and again, is supported is a method so that given a char set name, it can tell you whether it is supported or not. And so that way character sets have been dealt with like this, the char set class. Okay, so java.nio package, yes, it has these char set thing. Okay, and of course, yeah, you may have a look at the instance method. One of those methods was about, okay, how we can create, so it has methods, you know, for encode. Given a string, I'll return a byte buffer, or given a char buffer, I can return a byte buffer. So converting from a sequence of characters into bytes, that's what is encode. And you have the decode method where it's a byte buffer and returning a char buffer. Okay, and of course, whether it can encode or not, fine, that's available. I think I also mentioned about method called new encoder and new decoder. So for this char set, you can get a char set encoder or a char set decoder. Okay, fine. So I think this is what we had seen yesterday, right? So yeah, the API part. Okay, I think, we had seen the reader. Yeah.
This cassette depends on the operating system that you are
Char set depends on the
operating system that the program.
The default char set. Character sets, you know, the character sets. Okay, so all the various character sets, standard character sets, they are normally going to be available. If you can, I think I can quickly show you on the J shell. Okay, what all character sets are available here? Let's say, right?
ASCII or
Yeah, there's so many of them. Okay, there are a number of them which are the standard character sets. Okay, so let's have the import for java.nio.charset.star. Okay, fine, and then let's have a okay. So we want to see the char sets which are available, right? So it would be a sorted map, right? So we can say char set, that's a class name, dot available char sets. Okay, and that's going to return a map. Okay, dot just get them as a string. Okay, the names. So let's use the key set method. Okay, so that gives me all the as a set. I'll now get it as a set, and on that I might use a for each when system out : print. Okay, and just printing all of them. Yeah. Okay, so and these are so many of them, right? Since it's a sorted, yes, it's a sorted set, we are getting them in the sorted order. Okay, and you can note something like this. Okay,
So this one,
Yeah.
UTF-16 and USSD.
Yeah. Big endian, little endian for UTF-16 and 32. So even there's a UTF-32, but there's no need to look at it because 32 means it will occupy 32 bytes, and there is no shifting or anything, nothing like what we do. It's just that
UTF-32 means 4 bytes.
4 bytes, but we know it is only 21 bits, so it easily accommodates it. So there's no question of any kind of changes here and there. Like, you know, if you look at UTF-8, oh, there's converting one character into a number of bytes. Right? So there's only one unit and it has the value.
Oh, so this
32.
Unicode was earlier 16, now it is 32.
Unicode was the first version of Unicode was not having characters more than 16 bits.
Yes.
It didn't have anything outside the 16-bit range. But the encoding, like you say UTF-16, yes, that's relevant for any version, you can say. And because it's about converting those 21 bits into 2 units of 16 bit. Okay. And so anyway, this is all that list of okay.
So my question was,
Yeah.
this Charset, is it part of the JVM or is it part of the underlying operating system?
Okay, some of the carsets which are supported may also depend on the operating system, what you have installed there. Okay, the list, but the behavior of a carset is not dependent on the OS. Fine. Carsets are standard things, but for example, Windows specific carsets are there, right? Here you can see. You may not find them on the Linux system. Okay, but if a particular carset is there, yes, then. Right? So what is being supported? Yes, it all depends on. It may depend on what are the things installed. Yeah, here is the one. Okay, it is not ISKI, but it is X-ISKI 91. ISKI is that Indian standard code. Okay. And so it's that 8-bit code. Okay. So before Unicode, yes, for Indian languages. Fine. So before Unicode, for Indian languages, we had this is what was being used. So like ISKI 91 is there, but before that there's a version called ISKI 88. Okay, but that anyway, so that has been superseded by 91. Okay, fine, clear? So fine, so yesterday, yeah, so one thing we saw was the OutputStreamWriter, fine, and if you look at the methods, it's the instance methods, we only have the additional method called getEncoding. Other methods are the method from the superclass. Okay, and same way, if you go back and look at the InputStreamReader, fine. InputStreamReader here also, yeah. Sorry, we can first have a look at the constructors, right? So see, these are the constructors we had seen, right? So here we use a charset decoder, right, or a charset or the name, right? And we know there is the default charset method. So in case you don't pass, that is what will be used. Okay. Instance method, yes, the additional method is the getEncoding. Other methods are from the superclass. Okay, it's a reader class. Superclass here is the reader. Fine, so clear? Fine, so this is what we had seen yesterday. Okay. Fine. So 4 classes which were the top level stream classes, and then the 2 subclasses, one from the reader, other from the writer, but they are a bridge because their source, for example, the reader, the source would be a byte based stream, any byte stream. And in case of InputStreamReader, it's InputStreamReader where the source is a byte stream. For an OutputStreamWriter, the destination is a byte stream. Okay, fine. Now there are subclasses of these two things. For example, if you look at the OutputStreamWriter, okay, let's go back to the OutputStreamWriter. Fine. We have the OutputStreamWriter here, and okay, if you look at the direct subclass, it says file writer. Fine. I think towards the end, yes, we were trying to look at the files, IO for the files, right? How do we do IO from a file? Okay, fine. So any questions so far? Yeah. Up to what? I mean, this is what we were doing yesterday, right? So anything, any other questions? Yeah. Okay, and so
this we can also use to write, let's say, so I'm reading, let's say, image or an audio file as a byte stream.
Okay. Now, what are this input stream reader and output stream writer, right? They are character stream meant for text. So if you are talking about image, no, these are not the things for that. If you look at a file, a text file, I'm talking about a text file. If it's a file, what is it made up of? It's made up of bytes. Okay, it's not made up of the char type. But in Java, for text, we have char and string type. Okay, that's where we need to connect it. Okay, fine. The bytes need to be interpreted according to some character set and then read in as a Unicode, fine, in the Unicode form. So in Java, yes, it's all Unicode. Text is Unicode. So that conversion, that's where the encoder and decoder were coming into picture.
But I can use this class, input, stream, and writer. So I can just take, so for example, I'll take the JPEG file, image file, take its byte and write out the byte.
Right, read them as characters. Read them as a text. But that would be meaningless. Like, okay. Getting the point. It's not the text, right? If there is a text, then you do this. It's.
I understood, but this, I mean,
okay.
I'm sure for audio and JPEG will be this normal stream.
And then it's binary, right? That's binary. So for binary data, we have the stream. It can't be reader and writer. Okay.
It's not character, but it's coming as a byte stream.
Coming as a no, byte stream is the source. The source is a byte stream, but the stream here is a character stream. Right. So it has to use a decoder.
Decoder, yes.
Okay. And that's what was in the constructor also. Constructor for the input stream reader says, okay, I need a Charset decoder.
We need a decoder. But again, for writing also,
we need a Charset encoder. Yes. So you got some text and you want to put it into some destination. Now, normally, because our file or anything, that's made up of bytes. So we say it's a byte stream. Okay, fine. So we'll have to, when we save something, it's a text being saved, you should know the character set in which you would like to save it. Right?